reverence by Councilmember Craig.
Please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to serve the people of this city. We ask, Lord God, that you be with us through our decision making. We pray, Lord God, that you watch over the people of this city, those who serve this city, those who live here, that you continue to shine your blessings upon this community. We ask, Lord God, that you guide the decisions of this meeting, of the individuals up here, that your Holy Spirit give us discernment in the matters that we have to make decisions on. We pray, Lord God, that you comfort the hearts in tough decisions and give us an opportunity to, while making these tough decisions, to use the discernment you've given us and the problem-solving skills that you've given us. We thank you so much for the opportunity to serve. And we know, Lord God, that all authority comes from you. And so we thank you for the ability to operate in that authority. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, thank you, both of you. Just some upcoming events. We know it's not right away, but it is coming quickly as our Hooper Tomato Days. So hopefully you'll be checking our website with all of those events coming up. One of our first things will be our Junior Queen Contest, and then we'll have our Rodeo Queen Contest, and then events. So we'll be having more information with that as far as everything that you need to know. So the first thing on our consent items, before that, we have public comments. So if there is anyone that would like to come up and make a public comment, if you will come up to the microphone, state your name, and you have 3 minutes. The council does not dialogue back and forth, giving you decisions on your comments. And if you'll watch Morgan, our city recorder, she will tell you when your 3-minute time is up. Do we have anyone tonight? Okay, seeing no public comments then, our first consent item is a motion approval of the minutes that are dated June 18th, 2026. Has everyone had a chance to look through those minutes? If you have, is there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, if there's no corrections, then I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated June 18th, 2026.
Second.
The motion was made by Councilmember Rapoletto. It was seconded by Councilmember Hancock. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. So the first thing we have then tonight is a presentation from Nicole Blanche. She is the director of the Western Weber CTC. And when I'm meeting a little bit ago, we talked about our redesignation, if Hooper wanted to do that as far as our Get Healthy community. And I had some conversation with Nicole because they already have this CTC in place, because when you do this healthy designation, then you're supposed to partner with a coalition. And so she's going to do a little presentation, give it some thought about whether we want to. It's not on our agenda as an agenda item tonight to do this or not, but listen to her comments, and then we'll put it on another agenda in the future. And we do need to decide if we're going to do that. We want to do that redesignation. So thank you, Nicole. If you want to come up, we'll turn the time to you.
Here. When I saw I was number 6, I thought, oh, I got time to sit. That was number 6, went really fast. Oh, that's the end. I can be done. Oh, okay, I'll start. Okay, so like Sherry introduced, I'm Nicole Blanche. I'm the coordinator for the Western Weber Communities That Care Coalition. If you want to go to the next, I'll just do I just tell you? Okay, that'd be great. So in talking, I've been in this role for a little bit now and gotten to know Sherry, and we've kind of been talking about, supporting, thank you. What did I push? The bottom one? Okay. How we can support the community better. And this opportunity has kind of presented itself where you guys, for the last 3 years, have had the Healthy Communities designation. And so, and it's up for renewal if you wanted to do that. And so she kind of had brought up how could the coalition maybe help support that. So Sherry's not running it by herself or kind of spearheading that role. And as she mentioned, part of the application process, you need to be associated with a coalition or have one designated within your community. And we do a lot of that work already with Healthy Communities and prevention. And so it would be a natural fit to be able to just align together with our goals. And so that's kind of what I'm going to talk a little bit about, that you guys have had that. And it's just, there's very few up here in our area that have that. And so I applaud you for doing that for the last couple of years. And so I'm just going to kind of talk about how we can support that and then what that partnership might look like with the coalition. Oh, I'm pushing the wrong button. Anyway, so the Healthy Community designation, it really does, as you can see, like on the diagram, health is at the center of everything that we do, right? If we have a healthy community, then we have, good recreation, we have good schools, family support, public health, all of the things that are listed there go along with having a healthy community. And there's some key impacts that go along with that. And the improving quality of life, that means you've got safe neighborhoods, access to recreation, mental well-being, family connection. People feel like they belong to the community. It can strengthen the long-term community outcomes, physical health, mental health, youth development, attract growth and investment. So where that this community has grown so much. I met with City Councilman Ropalato earlier today, and I grew up in West Weber, so not very far from you guys. So I've lived here my whole life, me and my husband, and so just the growth that I've seen since I was just little to even just over the last few years as I've raised my family, this area is attracting more and more people, and we want it to be represented not just in Hooper, but in all the areas on this western end as a good community to grow up in, to raise our families in, good schools, good parks and recreation and all the public safety that we have, so that it can attract families and businesses and developers. And we want to create a shared responsibility. It's not just Hooper's job to have a healthy community. It's all of our jobs, right? It's my job as a coalition coordinator. It's the schools, it's the businesses that are out here. And so the city leaders, and we want to make sure that we're ensuring that responsibility falls on all of us and not just one. So with that, so just a little bit about who we are too, in case you're like, what is the coalition? So we are, a long time ago, a few years ago, it was just called Fremont 5. So if any of you remember that was when Fremont was the only high school. And then when they built Westfield, we took that in under our coalition as well. So we have 2 high schools that I work with, Westfield and Fremont communities. So our borders for our coalition are bigger than any of the other coalitions that we have with the other high schools. We go right to the end of Far West up there, all the way down to you guys. So I cover quite a few schools and communities, and prevention is at the heart of everything that we do. Evidence-based research, programming for our families and our students. We want to make sure that we're ensuring that we offer good, healthy alternatives for our kids so that they can be able to grow up with, just all the opportunities that they need to thrive. And a lot of I think since I've come into this role, we deal a lot with substance use and try to, the education around that, alcohol, mental health. And it's interesting to see. And I saw this too, just before I even joined any of the health department or this role. I grew up here, so I thought, oh, nothing out here. There's nothing wrong out here. We live in the best place ever, and we still do, but there are those lingering things that are out there that not a lot of people know about that are affecting our kids. And so we want to bring that awareness and that education. And so that's what we do a lot. We work with our schools, we work with the communities to be able to educate them on the issues that are surrounding our kids and the obstacles that they face, because they need that support. They need that family and community connection. And so we try to provide education around that. But a lot of the things that we do overlap with the things that the communities are doing. And so where that overlap happens is when you guys first were designated as a healthy community, the goals that you had looked at meeting were developing athletic infrastructure, healthy eating messaging campaigns, and community events that promote social connection. And all of those things in some ways overlap with the things that we're trying to provide. So a lot of the things that the coalition looks at is risk and protective factors within our community. We get that from a lot of data sources. The SHARP survey is one that we look at a lot that is offered into the schools. So we get direct survey information and data from our students currently. And so when we're looking at those, the goals that we have set for a coalition is to look at risk protectors such as depression and anxiety, alcohol use, substance use, vaping, nicotine, those nicotine pouches that are out there right now. And we want to try to reduce the risk factors, but also increase our protective factors. And that's what every one of your goals that you set on your healthy community designation was, to build those protective factors. So the way that the coalition can come into those things to provide that support is, even though we don't focus on maybe promote or building like a pickleball court. I mean, my kids would love that if I put that in my backyard, but that kind of thing we can turn that into by participating and promoting the parks and the recreation. We're encouraging that pro-social involvement, healthy behaviors, and positive peer relationships. And then same thing with the healthy eating. We don't really focus on nutrition per se as a coalition, but when you put the spin on it as, okay, let's have family dinners, and that increases that family bonding, it builds a healthy routine, and then those lifelong wellness habits. And same thing with the community connection, the social connection. That's what we want to increase, that attachment to their community, the belonging, and then those opportunities those kids can have to serve in a youth council or, a community initiative. So, just some things that we can look at that we promote, that you guys also are doing, that we could collaborate on, and looking at your redesignation. If you go forward with that as a healthy community, these are ways that we can support you. We're not asking you to do anything for the coalition other than just letting us help you. How can we support you and enhance your wellness in your community and your community members' participation in these things? So we can partner with healthy community events. We already do that a little bit with you guys in Tomato Days. We have a youth council that meets with us regularly. We have quite a few kids we have about 15 to 20 kids that just go to Westville alone that are on our youth council, and they work within that group with their peers. We have quite a few from Fremont that work in that Cone area, but we encourage the kids to lead out on these things, to give them those leadership skills and that opportunity. So when they come and help with Tomato Days and they do the volleyball like they did last year, or they provide the breakfast, or they march in the parades, it's giving them that opportunity to have those pro-social events and relationship with their peers. And at those same events, we can promote education and give them that prevention awareness that they might not have or had gotten previously. We can also send out messaging that talks about why it's important to have family dinners, why it's important to be with your families a couple of nights a week if you can. Kids are pulled in so many different directions. I'm already looking at the schedule for my family when school starts, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll see this one this day, that one this day, and it's hard to make it all work. But if we can cement in the reason why it does promote those healthy relationships, it does make a huge difference in the families. And again, we have our Youth Leadership Council, but we also get a lot of data. And so do you guys. You have to measure your impact on how the things that you promote in your community are going to impact your community members. And we have to do that as well. Our coalition is funded through grants, and I have to report to all of those funders how we've used that money and what were our outcomes. What was the data that we received from that to show that we're making an impact in the communities. And it's not just Hooper, it's West Haven, Far West, Plain City, the unincorporated area where I live in West Weber. So we have to, by sharing that data, it can impact what you guys do if you apply for future funding, and also impacts what we do as well. And then also leveraging that grant funding and community partnerships or resources. We're able to give suggestions on things that we find, because we are very tuned in with the funding that's offered for prevention in the state. If there's something that aligns with you guys, we can offer that to you, help write the grant, and vice versa. So that would be a way that we could work together to promote that healthy designation within the community and just have a greater impact on everybody as a whole. I don't want to take a ton of my time, but you guys, as you think about doing that, I know a concern was brought up that they don't want just one person alone to run it. And that's where the coalition could come in and help promote that, and also help with the planning, sitting on the committee, taking some of that responsibility off the council members or one individual if that was what was determined. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, this is what the partnership could look like. I thought I was done, but you guys can kind of read through that really fast. We don't ask for anything more than just you guys let us promote our coalition through the community, collaborate on events, promote our messaging with city communication channels. And then that's what we'd give back: prevention, education, data, evidence-based programs, support, and then resource coordination. So anyway, now I'm done. But if you guys have any questions, Sherry has my information. So if you ever have any questions or need, I'd love to talk about it. I get a little nervous and it's intimidating up here, but I appreciate your time. And I hope that we can collaborate more in the future. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Nicole while she's
I
here?
have a question. One of your last slide there said that one of the things you would need from us is a meeting space. And I know we've had discussion in the past about allowing community-centered events using our meeting space. And I'm just curious what you would need for us for a meeting space if we were to commit to that.
Yeah, so we've already actually collaborated with you guys on that in the past. We've offered some parenting classes, and we did that not this last year, but the spring, I think, of 2025. When I was first hired, we did a 5-week class. It's called Guiding Good Choices. And we invite our parents to come in, and then they are able to get that. And it's all about family bonding, how to talk to your kids about issues that are affecting them in school or in daily life, and how to create those connections. And so really that's what it is. It's, can we hold a class here for your community? Can we maybe hold a meeting here? We've held a few community board meetings and things. So it would be nothing more than just that kind of thing. Then we would, you know, if we come and do a booth at one of your events, that type of stuff, it would be the meeting space.
That leads me to one more question because I didn't know the answer was going to
Yeah.
say that. I guess it's more of a question for you, Darren. Do we run any risk partnering with an organization like this, knowing that they would be teaching something to our citizens? Do we have any liability of what they teach, what that curriculum looks like? Are we outwardly saying as a city that we support the message that's given, things like that? Okay.
So currently we already are. Hooper City is one of the communities. Within our budget every year, we actually do give money to the coalition, and then the coalition in return ends up supporting our events. So we have actually partnered with the coalition back when it was Fremont 5, when it was first being originated. And if I had to guess how many years ago, I would say probably 10. How many years have we had the
At least
coalition?
2018. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah, and I'm not implying I disagree. I don't even know the curriculum.
Oh,
I'm
no.
just curious. So anytime I hear, I have an educational background. Anytime I hear that we're going to educate people on things, then we have to be making statements and taking stances on things. And so from as a political entity and as a city, governmental entity, are we saying we also agree with those things?
yes. And I should have pointed out too, just along with that, we are, our fiscal agent is through Weber Human Services. So any of the curriculum that we teach has been vetted through them and the state. So, but we're happy to provide anything ahead of time that you can review if that's something that you would like to do. Again, we've taught those classes before, not saying that, you know, is not something going forward, but we'd be happy to provide curriculum, answer any questions, or refer you to the, coordinator for that we have at Weber Human Services, and they would be able to answer any of those questions for sure.
Really insightful. Thank you.
I have a question. Do you have a partnership agreement that would be sent out and signed by the city?
We would definitely, we're actually drafting like a MOU type thing. I'm just waiting for the directors at Weber Human Services and their attorneys and stuff to finalize that, so that the coalitions, because there's a Bonneville, a Roy, a Weber, and us, and Ogden City coalitions, and they all want to try to do that same kind of partnership with their cities that they represent and work with. So that's something that we're definitely working on.
So it would be low liability. I deal with this all the time in my job. So the liability would be handled in that partnership agreement. So I would just want to see that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. That draft is being sent through our directors there at Weber Human Services. Once we have that, I'm happy to share that with you guys. You can review it and see what you think. And then if there's any changes to that agreement, we'd be happy to review that as well.
Maybe the mayor knows if we had one of those in the future or in the past, I mean, signed one.
We've ever had any kind of a signed MOU.
I don't think,
in the
as I've
past.
checked with past coordinators, that's something that I don't know that any of the other coalitions have had with the city. We have one with the school district so that we can go into the schools, teach those same classes. So we have, like last year, we partnered with Mountain View Junior High and did a strengthening families class. And so we have the same type of MOU in place for them, but offering it with the cities, that's something new that we're all exploring as coordinators. I think it would be beneficial to both coalition and the cities for all of that. So I'm hoping that goes through. Yeah.
Well, and that's, I maybe mentioned before in one of our meetings, but when I went to the Healthy Communities seminar that they had coalition directors there. And that's when I called Nicole and said, why aren't we partnering? Why are we both doing this exact same thing? Why do we have a coalition in the city? We already have the one with Western Weber. So that's why we thought this would be a really good partnership. And Nicole also mentioned on one of her slides about helping us with grants and applying. And so she already told me about one possible grant that I have completed, ready to submit if we decide we want to do this. And it is through Weber Human Services, and it's a the Department of Health and Human Services with the state. That's a $2,500 grant that again would be helping. I had put in here about the possibility of being able then to pay a Weber State University intern. So I had a stipend in there with some program materials, advertising, some participant incentives, some surveys, evaluations. We could do pre and post to see the benefits. And so again, I feel like this is something we did it before. I don't know that we did it maybe as effectively as we could have in a city, but I would like to see us continue to do this if you're interested in having this designation.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I do have to make one comment though. Wow, you are very well prepared to answer every question and you talk fast.
I do. I'm
Way to
sorry.
go.
When I get nervous, I get that's when Sherry said talk fast, I was like, done. I got it.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, would you be opposed? Our consult is here. Our code right now, before the change, requires us to do a vote to change the agenda. Would you guys be willing to do the CRA right now and go and handle that issue?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
There'd have to be a majority vote of the council to move that in the agenda according to our code, but the consult here, it's at the.
For the CRA, we have it at the,
You don't
yes,
have to, just an idea.
if you would want to move that up, change the agenda to move up our first, let's see, the possible motion to consider, it's B under action items, move that up, talking about the Community Reinvestment Agency while Cody is here, moving that up in the agenda. Is there anybody?
Oh, you could go home.
Yes.
Yes.
So if someone would like to make that
Would
motion,
that supersede the conversation on lease agreements?
That's what that's what I was proposing, but it would be your decision.
I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to the fact you're waiting. Are you ready to go home? Are you ready? I don't know how much time the lease conversation is going to take.
I don't know, there's a couple of things. Someone would like to make that motion to move that up.
I'd make a motion to move up the conversation of ordinance number 206-24, creating a CRA, to bump it up in front of approval of ordinance number 22603.
So in front of the trail lease agreements,
Yes.
having it next.
Yes.
Okay, that motion was made by Councilmember Hancock. Is there a second?
If it helps him out, I'll second it.
Okay, second is made by Councilmember Rapoletto. And all in favor?
We have discussion.
Is there a discussion on it? Do you want?
I have a question. It's under an action item. We're moving it up under a discussion item.
Question also.
We'd be moving the entire action item up.
Okay, so we would go into action, back to discussion, back to action?
Yeah.
I mean, is that allowed?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just asking for
Yes.
Robert's Rule of Order, for us sticking to agendas and all that stuff.
Yep.
That's the only discussion question I have.
Okay, if no other discussion then, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Did everyone vote? I didn't hear.
You have to cast a vote or abstain, right? Does he have to cast it?
Okay.
Abstaining.
What about you, Councilmember Powers? I didn't hear you. You said aye. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Nicole, for coming. We appreciate that. Yes, you can go. So thank you. And I didn't put it on the agenda for us to vote tonight. We do need to get our reapplication done, but because that's not an action item on our agenda, we'll have to do that next time, and I'll be working on that, and then you'd be thinking about if you want to do the redesignation. Okay, so then we've moved up a possible motion to consider ordinance number 2026-04, an ordinance creating the Hooper City Community Reinvestment Agency and authority and authorizing the mayor to create or to execute a notice of impending boundary action. So we had a discussion on this for an hour in work meeting. Again, what questions do you have about this? Any questions that Cody can answer for us? And then we can discuss this.
I think you explained it fairly well in the meeting. I don't know. I don't have any other questions.
So if there's not any questions, then I would entertain a motion then to consider this ordinance and all that it entails. So is there a motion?
I'll entertain a motion to consider the ordinance 2026-04 to create a CRA.
The motion was made by Councilmember Hancock. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second was made by Councilmember Rapoletto. Any discussion on the motion?
So this is,
This is the way, in fact, maybe I do have a question. Will you maybe explain to all the residents that we're just adopting this, if I understood it right, we're just adopting this, but we do not have to act on it unless we want to. Is that correct? Or could you explain that to our residents?
Yes, I will. The action that you're taking now is to create a separate entity, legal entity called the Community Reinvestment Agency of Hooper City. So you'll have a separate entity that can, in the future, act under the powers of 17C, which allows you to create a project area and other powers that are granted under 17C. Those could be exercised at any time in the future or not exercised, but you can't exercise any of those to, for example, provide a tax increment incentive unless this agency is created. So right now you're just creating that agency so that you can have a future action if you choose to do so under that agency's powers.
So I asked this in the work meeting. I want to ask it again. This agency is taking action and operating effectively as a different body, even though it's the same people.
Yes.
And I know it's semantical, but it does have material implication. Are we asking the taxpayers to pay the individuals up here differently or additionally because they are doing different tasks, operating separate meetings, even though they're at the same time? Because currently the taxpayers are paying us to do what we do. And so I would want to be clear that if we're creating an agency, that we understand how we're paying the people that are part of that. Not saying I need to be paid to do it. I just want to be clear what we're asking the taxpayers to do with that, because we would effectively be saying, you're not operating as a city council member. You're now attending this CRA meeting and you're acting as a CRA board member. And so I don't know what other cities do. Are we supposed to just volunteer that time? Is that what we're expecting of individuals? And then additionally, does that put an obligation? I know based on the attendance of meetings, we pay council members if they attend or don't attend, based on that. So if they're now attending an additional meeting, are we giving a task for like our recorder or something to have to go say they were in 2 meetings on the same day? But I just want to be clear on that before we create an agency we're making people pay double dip for or whatever.
Council? He's looking.
Looking that up, but I think it's something that we would decide. We'd have to put in our bylaws. So if you're concerned of having some kind of understanding of what you want there, I think that would be your guys' choice.
Can we effectively create an agency that we don't know how we're paying for it? Or would we need to put it in our bylaws before we create this agency?
I'm searching for it right now for that issue with payment.
Did you say, just to clarify, it can be done in the same meeting with the exception of it has to have a separate agenda? So say, for instance, tonight, if we had already created this board and we get done with this agenda and we're done at 7:50, for example, then we adjourn that meeting and then we say we are now we're going to commence our
Yes,
CRA board meeting.
correct.
So it wouldn't necessarily, but I agree, we need to have all that in writing, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be a separate meeting that we're calling for additional staff to come. We could do them, if I understand, at the same meeting.
That's how I've seen it every single time.
Me too.
It's done on the same meeting.
Same night.
same
But
night.
you as like, say, in your profession, if you're dealing with me as a client, but then you switch hats and start dealing with Larry, you're billing both of us. Right? And so effectively the way that we're set up to be, you know, compensating our council members, we're effectively doing a different job. And I just want to make sure if we want to all agree that like, we're not going to take payment for our work we do on the CRA, that I'm fine. That's a different issue. I just want to make sure before we go creating agencies that we're telling the taxpayers how they're going to pay for that.
And staff.
I'll say from other entities, once the agency is created, you then create bylaws. And that is something that you can describe all that information. You can have a bylaw that says we will not be compensated, or we will be if there's increment available, or you can just describe what it is you want. But right now, just by creating it, there are no bylaws yet. So
Okay.
you can't create them yet until
makes sense.
the agency's created. You couldn't.
There wouldn't be a compensation until the agency rules were created.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, answers my question. I just want to be sure. I mean, there's clearly a need for us to have a separate legal entity. And so if there's a need for a separate legal entity, it probably has all kinds of governance that we need to be aware of. And I want to make sure that if we're just making something, we're not just making some made up thing. You know what I mean? I want to be clear of what we're agreeing to build here before we build it.
Fair enough.
Any other discussion, questions? Okay, so we've had a motion made, a second was made. Because this is an ordinance and we need to do a roll call vote. So I will start with Councilmember Hill,
Nay.
Councilmember Rapoletto,
Aye.
Councilmember Hancock,
Aye.
Councilmember Craig,
Aye.
Councilmember Fowers.
Nay.
Okay, that carries. Thank you. Okay, so now we will go back to our previous agenda, which is on trail lease agreements. And this was going to be on a work meeting that we never had time to do. Thank you for coming. And so we thought tonight, so we had talked once about doing going on a little field trip, and then we decided that was a little bit problematic, trying to get carts or something to take them. And so we went along and I just took pictures. And so I started because with this lease agreement, there's some things in it that we talked about that maybe there's some changes we need to make, because it talked about whether there could be animals, not animals, how many feet away it had to be from the slough bank. And so if you go into these pictures, and I started on the very north end of Hooper Landings. And so Malcolm can pull these up and you'll see that I just went along the Hooper Landing slough. Then I went across the street and went over to the slough that is there in Eli subdivision, I believe, and then went down across 5900. So it connects to the cemetery. And also the last three slides, we have 3 properties that currently people are using our property, but we do not have a lease agreement for. Which I'm not saying I'm against them using it, but I feel like we should talk about that and have something in place, because if ever that property was sold, and those will be fairly evident on the pictures when they show. So, okay, Malcolm, you have those? So like I said, we just went along and started taking pictures. And if you're familiar with the back of Hooper Landings, the city owned quite a large piece. And several years ago, they decided, and this again was probably about 8 or 10 years ago, they would lease these properties so they would take care of it. And so you're going to give that. Thank you. I'm just going to go through these fairly quickly, and I'm assuming the down one. Okay. So you can just see as we go along. Oops. No. Okay. Okay, but so you can see, and this is just an example of where they've moved their fences back, which we've allowed them. And I feel like they take really good care of these properties. So as you go along, you can see some people that have done it, some people haven't. Anyway, I'll just keep Hooper City property, and according to our lease agreement, we allow them to do that. Noting though that, you know, they own the fence, but and at any time, the city can take back this property. And it's a 50-year lease. We charge them $1 a year to be able to do that. And again, I feel like it's been very advantageous to because you see how nice they look, where you look on the other side, the right-hand side is where the Hooper City is responsible for mowing, and it just is a lot of time and effort. So again, you can just see as you go along, they're not all even. Some people have leased property, some haven't. And that's that center portion that would be nice sometime for the city to be able to.
In the event that something catastrophic happened and we had to reclaim that property, from what I've read into this, we also would take possession of anything that was on that property. Not that I'm ever anticipating doing that, but we wouldn't have to, the fences and stuff that are on there would become ours.
Yes, and I
I don't want that,
think
but
that should probably be something we look at, because I don't know.
I don't want their fence. I'm sorry. I'd rather have them
And I
take it down.
And the residents have paid money for their fences, so I don't know necessarily, but that is something that's in our current lease that we probably should.
I would like to look at that, because if they put it up, I can't imagine what we'd ever have to take it down for. But if we did, I would rather they had the option to remove it rather than it becoming our property. And that's kind of what I read into this, was it became ours. I don't want it.
I agree with that. You go along here and there are animals. And one thing in our lease agreement, it says that they can't. And you know, one thing I just wanted to show too, I'll go back one, not all of these agreements are the same, because you see here, they maybe gained a few feet. Then you go further and I'm headed south on the trail. They gained a large portion of land, enough that they can. And again, and I'm not saying we want to change it, but it's always just been $1 a year, whether they ended up with 10 feet, 5 feet, or an acre.
But it just says us maintaining that property.
Yes, yeah.
And I will tell you one thing that I have observed, and it was just last couple of days. They are not supposed to have a gate on the back of their property wide enough to accommodate driving through, but we have a horse trailer parked on the property that we own, and that's got to get removed.
Yeah, I saw that too, about the side of the gate. Okay, anyway, there's pigs, cows, horses, chickens, which again, I think we just need to be consistent. If we're going to have that in our lease agreement, then we just need to change that, because again, I don't know why we have things and then we don't, but you'll see. This is still going along, and now we're almost to 5,100. And I feel like it helps the city out, because then we're not having to take care of it. Okay, now we've jumped across the street, and this is 5,100 behind where Eli's is, and there's that road that goes through. This is in the back of the Hubbard's property, and they take really nice care of that. And we've had other residents that have asked along here, like here, for example, no one is, but they have asked if they could, the possibility of perhaps having a horse or something along there to help take care of that. And we haven't allowed them to, but again, there's, you know, quite a distance here. And these are all those properties behind that people have asked, and some we've leased it to and some we haven't. Okay, now we're across the bridge. If everyone can follow where we are on that same trail, and then you see, this is someone that we gave the lease agreement to, that they've put a fence up next to it and rock, and you know, it's really well maintained, and that's a property then that the city isn't having to mow or take care of it, because we don't really have water access there. They have an access because they can take it from their property, run sprinklers if we're trying to do something, and this is rocks. Some of the others have planted grass, but
Are they too close? And there's supposed to be a 3-foot setback before they do anything.
And we're also supposed to be 35 feet from the slough.
Yeah.
So again, all of these are not created equal. That's why I'm saying I felt like we needed to look at this and decide what we want to do. And then this is the cemetery trail where you start going down and you can see ones that have maintained it. It looks really nice. They've mowed, they've put some trees along there. Again, whether they're 35 feet from the slough edge, probably not. Again, there's fences that according to our lease agreement, we would now own, which I don't know if that's something we want to. Is everyone familiar? I'm probably just showing you pictures you're already all familiar with. Has everyone walked along these trails and? Okay.
I drive along it on the road and look in as I go.
You know, and this is on behind the, where it runs into the cemetery too. So, yeah,
What is city staff? They're not really excited about trying to maintain this trail, are they?
well, they're not, and we've been a little bit short-staffed because of some health concerns this summer. And so I can tell you, we take care of what absolutely has to be done. And probably one of the last things on the list would be to mow the trails. If they have to be mowing the parks or making sure that there's the sewers being maintained, this would probably, and the one that usually mows our trails is one that has not been able to do that this summer. So, but again, we need to decide what we want to do, because then when we have come in and say, well, I want a horse, and we say, you can't have a horse, and they say, well, other people have a horse, then I think we need to.
I feel like I have a hard time with us saying we need to manage the standards of other people. We can't cut our own grass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we should be managing the standards of the side that we should do. I definitely agree with consistency, but what does enforcement look like on that? Is that a code enforcement thing? Is that something? And then how do we, like you said, do we go back and look at every single lease that we've done? And have we ever talked to any of these people? I mean, that rock that's on there with the fence on top of it, if they're in violation, what is our plan? Are we going to make them move it? I mean, that's a big undertaking, right? And so, I mean, what do we plan to do? What would it cost us to enforce this? You know, are we going to have to take people to court? I mean, what does that look like? I mean, it's Matthew 7:5, let's get the speck out of our own eye before we, plank out of our own eye before we look at the speck in our neighbors. So I'm just curious if we need to cut our grass first.
And that has been a concern that people have said. I don't think we do any enforcing, as far as I know, along here. It is up to, they come in and sign the lease agreement, and it's like an honor system. Okay, we believe that you're going to take care of it. My thinking is we just need to decide what we want this to be. And any that are already grandfathered in, we have lease agreements, but going forward, are we allowing horses? We're not allowing horses. Do we still want to do the $1 a year? Maybe change some things that we don't own someone's fence? Is it the 35 feet?
Darren, I have a question for you. I don't know how this applies in this type of thing, but does past practice supersede code? I mean, if we say we don't allow horses, but we got pigs and horses somewhere.
I see no reason why we couldn't. I mean, these are our leases. This is our property. We can decide if we want to have animals on this piece of property and we don't want them on this piece of property. I mean, that's your decision ultimately. I wanted to talk about enforcement though. If you look at the language of them, the recent ones I've looked at, we can revoke them at any time. So enforcement, we can abate, we can revoke them, we can remove everything off the property. We can tell them to remove it off the property. If they don't, we can. So correct. If they don't remove it. So there's enforcement mechanisms. I think the biggest one is that we can revoke this at any time.
I was just going to ask along those lines, it sounds like they have to have a 1-year notice, the leasee, to cancel that lease. Is that?
I'll have to look at them because I've seen some that we didn't have a year-long notice. So is that in the majority of them?
It just says the city retains the right at any time with a 1-year notice to the leasee to cancel this lease.
Oh, okay.
It's item 2.
That seems a little excessive.
It's in there though. I mean, we couldn't go change retroactively.
No,
There were several that I saw
that's true. That's already in.
earlier this year when I was looking through them for different purposes that didn't have that. So
Yeah,
that's not consistent.
that was pretty lenient, I think.
Okay, well, we'll just keep.
Well, of
Okay.
course, you go to bullet 3.
So, so those are those lease agreements. So now we're on to just the 3 properties that, again, I'm not saying we should lease them, but we probably need to do something. So if you look at this picture, on the right is the LDS church that's up there by Freedom Elementary. So. Thank you. So you see the school, and then you see the house that's to the very far to the left. Well, you see where the different color of the grass is? Currently, the home, so it is the 4696, has their fence line back to where the green grass starts and is using that portion of the city's property, which I'm not saying, because we own that property. So the LDS Church owns it on the right, the city owns the property on the left. And so our property goes to where that line is. You can see that's even across the back with the other properties, but the property owner has planted trees. They're using the property up to where the green is. So I think somewhere we probably need to establish a lease agreement as well, because if ever they sell their property, the new property owners probably think they own that, but they don't.
How big is that parcel, do you know? I can look it up on it.
Well,
but-
if you look at, these are half acre, no, these I think are even maybe quarter acre lots.
Yeah,
I'm-
they're quarter, third
quarter
acre lots up
lots.
there.
So maybe an eighth of an acre? I'm not sure, Ray. I don't have those dimensions.
I'm just guessing because I've seen that property before. It's probably around a third of an acre that they are using.
Okay, so that is one that I thought that has been brought to our attention that, and I don't know when and why that occurred, but it has. Okay, so now you have the next one. So now we're down by the State Cultural Hall, down across the street from the park. So you see the building where the LDS Church is, where the Cultural Hall is, and you see that little narrow piece that's right to the left-hand side of the Cultural Hall. That's also owned by the church. Then you see that place that says 6200 West. That is owned by the city. So again, you go to 6184, and you'll see the house of it is using not all, but about 3/4 of our width going through there. And that is like supposed to be a road. And at Hooper Tomato Days, they do allow people to go back and forth. And so again, when I asked, why did we do this? And they said, well, we just did. Well, okay, if we're going to just do something, I feel like we still should have some kind of a lease agreement, because what if they ever move and you'll see they have corrals, other buildings they built, and that belongs to the city. So somehow we probably need to get some kind of a lease agreement, which could be different than our trail lease agreements, but something just so they are aware. And I don't know that they are or not, but
Is this property, this is separate from the trail lease agreement though, right? If I
we
understand.
have no lease agreements for,
So we just got somebody who just built on our property a
yes.
long time ago and it's just been rolling that way.
Any idea whose water is being used to water these properties?
I don't know that. That's a good question. I don't know.
I thought it was an excellent question, yes.
Okay, and then the third, and these are only 3 that I'm aware of, and we could have lots more than this in Hooper. Did you have a question, Darren, before we go to the next one?
Just getting familiar and looking at that provision about the 1-year lease. I've given the idea to the council for these types of properties that we can do what's called a license agreement, a separate specific agreement for each of these properties, where we would have the ability to take back our property when we wanted. It would be our decision. It might be a little safer. This 1-year lease language does make me a little nervous.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, it's 1 year and it only says that an emergency could supersede it. And then it says if there's a dispute that we have to go to mediation.
Correct. I just saw that. So I've hinted that, I've given that an idea. I've used that several times in different cities. It acts as the same way. They can use the property for specific things. We can exclude how it's used, but we have the right to go in and take the property with, we could give a more reasonable notice, like 30 days or 60 days, something that would be more reasonable.
But your legal recommendation would be not to proceed with it the way it's set.
The way it sits, no.
Well, and I agree. It's in our court. If we put that up front and say we can take it any time, then they have the decision, well, maybe I don't want to lease this and put all this stuff on there if you can do that. So I think we put it to benefit us.
The whole point would we want them to take care of the property. That it actually gets taken care of. I think that would be the whole point of us doing this in the first place. So
With this one specifically, there was an incident that came out that there was an injured horse because kids were riding motorcycles and scared the horse. And then they came into the city. Well, then come to find out their horse wasn't on their property. It was on city property because they had their whole corral and everything. So that got me thinking, okay, legally, we probably need to be making sure we are doing something to cover us, because it was and understandably, it's never a good thing when an animal is injured. And so, but again, we don't have anything other than there anyway.
So just to be clear, on this particular property, there's no agreement at all. Like they're just using our property and having their horse on, and they built buildings on our property that we haven't authorized. We don't have any lease agreement. Is there any action of enforcement on that at this point?
we can remove it whenever we want. It's our property.
I mean, but at the point we're aware there was an issue with the horse, are we liable? We're liable. It's on our land and we know it's on our land and we know that it's a problem.
So I'm not going to discuss that in this. I don't need to.
Okay.
Discuss that privately for legal advice, but it's our property. We can have them get off. We can give them a notice, and and if they don't within a certain amount of time, we can remove it. They're not taking. They don't have a right to the property. There's nothing of the sort. A person does not have a legal taking for city-owned property. For the liability question, I think we should be concerned about what's happening on our property. That's where we would do an agreement.
If we have a lease, it would relieve us of some of that liability,
Make sure that we
basically.
have-
If it was stated properly, it would relieve us.
Kind of switches that over. Right?
Well, and with Hooper Tomato Days, then there isn't the ability for trucks and horse trailers to be able to pull in from the road on the other side, which would be, I believe it's 5800 south, then go through, but it is a little bit obstructed to get through there. Anyway, we need to do something. I felt like, okay, let's go. There's just one more. So this is the property that is on 6300 West that is right next to the low sewer. It's one of our vacuum stations. So again, if you look to where the property line is, you can see that. Well, Hooper City, when they put up their fence around the sewer, you can see where they put the fence up. But again, we have this person now that is using where the green is, where the tree is, where the brown, the white, that is on Hooper City property. And they came in and wanted to purchase it. And I don't remember if that was this year or last year, and the council said no. But again, we've never signed a license with them or a lease agreement. Again, we just have a large piece, and we really don't want to sell this, because if ever we needed to do something with that list or with the vacuum station, we want to maintain that property. Like I say, these are only 3 that I'm aware of that have been brought to my attention, but I think we should have something in place so we can at least have some legality here for our property.
So I would recommend taking advice of legal counsel to create a license for these properties that Sherry's just talked about. And then have a different agreement with our trails or trail property leases. So I would, I guess, ask legal to create a license agreement and also a trail property lease agreement. 2 different entities, 2 different things.
So is the license specific to these?
To
Last.
properties that are not adjacent to a trail.
Not adjacent. So we continue with the lease along the slough or the trail.
I would think so.
Okay.
But a modified version of that lease that wouldn't
Yes.
have like the year and all, yeah, something that's a little better.
I actually received a list of all the properties that were owned in Hooper City a little while back. I haven't had a time to review that real carefully, but we have quite a few. There might be more than we are even dealing with that would come under this, and they're kind of a blanket policy that are not by the trail specifically.
And these are, I'm trying to see the term, wasn't it like 50 years or something?
They're
It was a
50-year.
lease. On the trail lease was 50 years.
So they would come up in that time frame. But
That's long for these type of leases. I don't think we want a 50-year lease on these.
So how long is a license generally?
the license, we can have it for
10 years, 5
yeah,
years?
10 years, 30
whatever.
years, something like that. We could do. It would just be different for each one. You could. You could have it be that way. Yeah.
And to me, there's a whole different list of rules for a license versus the trail lease.
They're kind
know?
of, they kind of are. Yes, you can do the same thing with them that we're trying to do here. The one thing to point out, according to our code, each of those will have to come before the council and be approved if it is a lease. So just so everyone's aware, yeah,
Oh, if it's a license, it still would have to be,
not necessarily. Yeah.
who would
So
approve that?
That's not in the lease. That's not in the code. So
Should we include that?
we could, if you want that to come before the council, or if you want staff to kind of handle that type of issue, they can.
Well, that was one of my questions in the lease agreement with the trails is number 10. Lease property should not be for the keeping of animals unless approved by the city in advance. Well, who's the city? Is that the staff? Is that the council? Is that the mayor?
I think if we're
Who is
discussing,
the
I think
city?
if we're discussing leases and according to our code changes, it would be the council.
So I think we need to be more clear on that as well.
So
I-
you would, to be clear on that, would you want that to be like staff, or would you want that to be the council?
I think the council.
I agree. It just needs to be more clear. And and then that could maybe have some language, like you had mentioned, we could determine whether we want animals or not, because right now it just says no animals, 35 feet. Well, we know we're not doing that, or like the fence belongs then to the city. So I think we need to have something language in there more that it can come to, and so someone could come and say, look, I have this extra acre. Can I put 2 horses? That would be different than
Darren, did you have concern with license versus lease in making sure that they are, because you said you can do a license for each one differently. Can we do a lease for each one differently?
Yeah.
Okay, so that wasn't a concern,
No.
license to lease based on the ability to make them different.
I'd have to go look at our code language. I know that there was discussion initially for leases that they had to be fair market value or the best interest of the city. So there would have to be a consistency of what these things are charged, I would think. But that would come up, that would be the council's decision according to our code.
But if it was like the standard, like $1 per year, like we've done, but maybe it's not 50 years or whatever that is, then we wouldn't fall into that. I'm just curious of like specifically, we know that we've got somebody on a leased property who's got horses or pigs or whatever, and somebody came before the council to request to use animals, and it was approved by the city council, or not approved. Do we
Mhm.
have an issue there?
There would be an issue politically, but legally.
Arbitrary and capricious.
legally, there's no issue.
Okay.
I don't think there's an issue.
So with these trail leases, I don't know you guys' opinion, but I'm thinking the ones that their houses don't go to the slough, I don't have a problem with them having horses, pigs, if they can take care of them. But the ones that the houses have this go down to the slough, we got to take into consideration probably no animals that's going to start sloughing off into the slough, and then we've got a big problem.
And you have a little issue with the 35 foot from the slough bank. I know we need to keep it away, but that's a long way. It's like over on 5500 down here where that property is. If we take 35 foot from the slough bank, I don't leave a whole lot of ground between there. I think that could be moderated a little bit without any danger to the slough bank dropping off there.
Is that our determination, or is that number set by like the Corps of Engineers or something? Like who
No,
decides what the slough
We
is?
did. We decided that there's no,
Was there a reason? Was it just an arbitrary number we picked? Do you know? Or
I'm sure it is because they have an easement down the slough, but it ain't 35 feet. It's like maybe 10.
okay.
And I
Oh.
thought that number came from the center of the slough to the 35 feet mark. But this is kind of alluding to the fact it's from the bank to the 35 foot mark. Anyway, that's what I thought. No.
Oh, from the center, it wouldn't be that bad. So
Well,
maybe I misunderstood
I
that.
mean, I'm just thinking of a football field, at the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of.
No, if it's from the center, it's.
But it's on the non-trail side.
Yeah, but our language doesn't say that. So if we want it to be 35 feet from the center, then we need to say that because ours says from the.
Non-trail side of the
This is.
slough, yeah, so,
Right, great.
yeah, so we need to do that from center if we're gonna do that 35 feet. If not, we need to modify that.
Okay.
It's just a
This
discussion.
this is just a discussion, so we'll just leave it up to legal counsel to come up with something that we'll come back and talk about this then. And
Do you need more direction than that? Are you good? Okay.
I'll reach out.
What would Leighton do?
clear
Nice.
about.
License on all of this.
Okay, if no further discussion on that, then we're going to go in now to action items A. That is the approval of the ordinance 2026-03 that has to do with amending chapter 1, relocating some things with electronic messaging, or excuse me, electronic meetings. We've talked about this in a work meeting prior. And so our legal counsel has worked on this, moved some things around. We had some things already that were in our existing thing as far as this putting newspaper notices out when we're having meetings that don't really even apply anymore. So Darren did a great job. I feel like consolidating this into the pertinent information that we need. So hopefully all of you have had a chance to read through this and we can discuss this, or then if not discussion, we could have a motion to approve this.
So my only discussion would be that I don't know, it seems to me like we had to have something in there, and I didn't actually read that to where there was no conversation with outside sources during that meeting. I couldn't specifically find where somebody couldn't be on their cell phone listening to somebody else while they were talking to us. And I guess we have to sort of trust them because they would be able to call us on a Zoom meeting and let us know what's going on. I just don't know how we would ever regulate somebody, having somebody give them.
So they would, according to how it's written, they can. It would be the mayor's discretion if there's issues. I think it's under that number 6. Sorry, it's been a minute since I've worked on this. I sent this to each of you individually. But no, that would be for 6. 6 would be for the closed meeting issues. But the technical disqualifications would be for 4. That would be under 4. And it's determined by the chair that the remote member of the public body cannot be clearly heard, or the remote member cannot clearly hear the meeting proceeding, that the member shall be restricted from further participating or voting in the meeting until the technical issue is resolved. And then as well, mentor report.
Don't say anything in there that stops them from, and it'd be really difficult to tell because they may need to contact us, but I don't want somebody being coached during a meeting if they,
Aren't there already ordinances that cover that? I mean, we're not supposed to be texting people outside of our meeting right now in public.
Correct. There's the issue with the open public meetings. If we're texting other people and there's potential grandma issues, that those would become record or become the city's record during a public meeting like that. But I thought I had that. Let me look through it real quickly. Sorry.
One thing here that I felt like we had talked about, which was really good, is it does talk about with the video that you have to be able to, the members' video feed. And in the past, we had meetings where there was no video feed. And so still, you're right, Councilmember Hancock, we couldn't really see texting, but.
So 3A, the member should be located in a setting free from unauthorized third-party disruptions, background noise, or visual distractions. I think the cell phone issue is something that's existent everywhere, the dais and virtual as well. So,
just have trust them they're doing it right.
correct.
Sounds reasonable.
Any other discussion, questions on this ordinance?
I did have one question, 114B, number 1. It says regular meetings, the city council shall schedule regular meetings at least once monthly. Was that changed from twice?
That was changed from twice in our code. So state code requires 1. So then it proceeds to say that it should be every first and third Thursday, which would be according to how we adopt when we have meetings at the beginning of the year. but the state code only requires once.
So that's from state code.
Correct.
And ours still says twice, our local code.
Our local code right now says twice.
Thank you.
Yeah, we already talked about that, and I think we were all pretty much in tune with the fact that we should be scheduled twice.
Well, and one thing to have this in our code was even like last time with July 4th, then it ended up being, we were on that Thursday, there was no city staff here because it was and so then we need to have something in our code that allows us, for example, if it was the same week of Thanksgiving, that we can cancel a meeting. And currently in our code, we really should not be doing that unless if we allow enough notice. I think that was the justification for the one.
For the one, the meetings, that's what me and Nick are going to be doing is we are looking and we get assigned these. Our code really just needs help everywhere. This had so much information that didn't need to be there at all. So this just got taken back down to where it needs to be. The state code really talks about noticing and everything that needs to happen there. We're just trying to simplify it for everyone. So.
Any other questions, discussion on this ordinance?
Just as a matter of conflict, because I'm the only one who's used it at this point, but since all of us, it's susceptible to everyone, is there a conflict here? Do I need to disclose that I, as somebody who's used it regularly, on my vote?
No, this is not a conflict of interest.
All right.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, then would someone like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 202603?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2026-03.
Do you want him to read that entire paragraph?
No,
That-
that's okay.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Hancock. It was seconded by Councilmember Hill. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, because this is an ordinance, we are going to do it by roll call vote. This time we'll start with Councilmember Fowers,
Aye.
Councilmember Craig,
Aye.
Councilmember Hancock,
Aye.
Councilmember Rappaletto,
Aye.
Councilmember Hill.
Aye.
Okay, that ordinance passes. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is an action item, and it is C, approval of awarding bid to A&T Sheet Metal for the HVAC upgrades. These are for our sewer vacuum stations at the North, Low, and Town Station. So I don't know if we have a presentation on this prior to just the council having a discussion. No? Okay, well, we'll just go ahead.
Good. I have some some comments on this, and I apologize. There's an awful lot here. This is the condensed version. This started months ago when we went down and looked at the sewer system and the building. And actually, I'm just going to back up and go through each item, and I think it covers everything. Otherwise, I'm going to skip over some of this stuff that's very important, and then I'll conclude at the end. So part of this is, and I guess we ought to start out, the bid for this was $534,000 for this. In our discussion in our budget meeting, we were thinking around $160,000 to $180,000. I can't remember exactly what got budgeted, but since that time, a whole lot more has been added to this bid that was, and did JUB do it, or I just heard today maybe somebody else actually wrote that up?
Do you mind here? Microphone. If not, our residents can't hear.
Yeah, we hired as a sub-consultant as Heath Engineering to do the HVAC and electrical design.
Well, and if they listen to this, they're going to be offended by what I say, because I don't believe anything that not anything, but let me just give you some real evidence from proof of these air conditioners. And part of all these comments is I'm representing the 9,000 plus residents here, trying to save them $350,000. that I think's in excess of what this bid should have been. And I'm going to go back to a building in Ogden where I worked. We had retail space of about 4,000 square feet, one air conditioned for the office, and a swamp cooler for the retail. We didn't like it. We had an engineer company come in, put all this ducting in, put this AC in. 3 years later, it's still not what we wanted. And so that's when I got introduced to Brooklyn. And he come out and looked at it. He's the one that come out and looked at the one in Hooper that we never did give him the opportunity to bid on. But first thing he come in and said was all that ducting needs to be removed. You're restricting the airflow in this 4,000 square feet. And he says, let's just put a 10-ton air conditioner through the wall that blows in, and there's a vent that sucks it out, and this is covering 4,000 square feet. We can keep that at 70 degrees, 72 degrees without any problem in the very hottest days of the month. And our secretaries that work there, they'll come dressed like Sherry, long sweaters and everything because it's too cold for them. And these pump houses down here, I walked it off. I don't know the exact square footage, but just walking it off, come up to 2,808 square feet. So a lot smaller. This worked great. So these same units, we have a shop that's 8,000 square feet, 16 foot tall. We've got six 14 by 20 doors on there that are opening every day, all day. And the asphalt that's outside of there on a hot day is 130 degrees. So there's a lot of hot air coming in. And these two units are installed the same way, no ducting whatsoever. And we set it at 72 or 74 out in the shop. There again, I went in there yesterday. I went to Idaho, stopped in there to drop off a trailer, walked in there. It was 72 degrees, no ducting. Brooklyn has installed these same exact units for Pine View, and they start at the dam and they follow the river down at all their different pump houses. Haven't had any problem, no ducting in there. They've got a 5-ton unit in there right now, and we're going to switch it up to 10-ton units. So if one goes out, we've got the other one there, and was okay with that. They was originally going to do it a 22-ton. Brooklyn told us we only needed 20, and I see that's what went out on the bid was a 20-ton. The ducting that's in these three buildings. Now this is all just odd numbers, but he's calculating if he would have bid that, probably $130,000 to $160,000 in ducting on this. And then it calls for the townhouse station that they've got to remove lights and that to get the ducting in there, and they want to hook it up to is it an ERV circulating system?
I'm not sure if it's that's what it is, but
yeah. And so they want to hook it up to that. And Brooklyn says that's just, I won't use the words he used, just not good. And he says it's for like a TJ Maxx store, that would be a good idea. For a sewer pump station and that, there's so much air going through there that it's not going to make a difference, and that it's going to suck all that smell and that through the filters and that, and take care of that. This is stuff that's been proven. I mean, we're increasing it 4 times the amount that we have right now. And, you know, and then the other thing is they want to change this to a 600 amp service there. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's what he told me. Our shop, we are 13,500 square feet, 3 of these units in there. We have welders, we have brakes, shears, all this equipment that we're using there. And we have a 400 amp service in there. I don't understand why they want a 600 amp service, and maybe you'll be able to explain that when I get done. Why can't they just, I went over today and looked, they take a 60 amp breaker. So 60 amps is what these furnaces or air conditioners take. And why can't you just come off the main line coming into that building and put a 150 amp service in there, which is going to be a whole lot cheaper than a 400 amp service or a 600 amp service. I mean, once you start going up in amps on these services, they get expensive. And I'm thinking that's why we're up at that $534,000 that, and the other thing that kind of bothers me is we never even allowed him to, we never even told this guy that spent his own time to come out that he could even bid on it until I found out. I asked Jared one day, I says, hey, when's JUB going to have this ready to send out on bid? And he told me it went out a month before that. And I understood that you guys were going to contact him and send him a bid. And I called him, and Jared said you guys did, but I called Brooklyn yesterday and to verify it. And he says he's never received anything. Some questions I have for you. Are the backup generators big enough to handle these new AC units going in there?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, that's good. Let's see, I talked about a couple of those things. Do you know how big the panels are right now that we have in those?
No, I don't know.
I thought Jared was going to be here tonight, so I didn't call him today. I assumed he would know. And do they really need to be upgraded? And my thing is, when I used to get these government bids and that, we would go ahead and bid it the way they were sent to us. You know, we didn't call them and tell them, hey, this is stupid or that. We just figured, you know, we got to bid it the way it came to us. So I'm not blaming the people that bid it at 534,000 because all that ducting and that 600 amp service. I'm almost done. You know, and we saw before our budget meeting, the estimated cost, I think, done by you guys that was end up $600,000. That was the whole reason I brought Brooklyn out, because I knew what we paid for our 2 air conditioning units at our shop. This was in 2024. They were about 48,000, and we spent another 30. I went over and looked today, another 3,800 for the electrician to come hook them up. And so we were basing all this, and we come up Brooklyn, just a rough figure, 160, 180,000 plus a little for electrical. You know, so we budget that. I mean, we just finished that budget, and then this bid comes in at 534,000, and then Jared tells me that they accepted it. And we can't do that to the residents of Hooper. We can't come up with $350,000 more. You know, these pump houses aren't that big. And that so I've been talking to Brooklyn on the phone. He's in Alaska doing a job up there, And so we forwarded him the bid that I got that you sent to Morgan yesterday, and he rough looked at it. 288 pages, but it just kind of blew me away when I started looking at it. But he told me, he says, no, this is common for cities to send this out. I know right where to look. And his initial thing was, you don't need the ducting. That's a waste of money, and that it's a restriction. You don't need to tie it into those ERVs over at that town station. He said, unless somebody was working, he says, if you got somebody that's in there all day, every day, he says, okay, maybe. This is a guy that this is what he's done for 31 years. I trust him more than the engineer that probably learned it in a book or something. But I know you don't like to hear that, but I'm here for the Hooper residents, and it's too much. And I will not approve it. The budget amendment. I mean, we'd have to amend our budget, and we don't have the money.
Can I get a clarifying the budget amount? So that 534 is for all three.
Yes.
Are we budgeting 160 for all three of those? So
Yes.
So 160 divided by 3, like 50,000 for each one is what the $50,000 for
Yeah.
each lift station is what you
Yeah.
think it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's with no ducting, and that's what we were about 3 years ago. And that I think it was 48,000, and he's saying about 50,000 for each one. I mean, the reality of it, plus the electrical. The reality of it is you cut 2 holes in there. The one hole is about, I'm just rough guessing, 2 foot by 3 foot that the air's blowing in, and then you've got a return coming back into it that's going vertical that's about the same size. You build a stand, you mount it on there, you got some cement work under the stand, and then the electrician comes in and hooks it up. And since all this took place, if we had done this back when he first come out, and whether he did it or somebody else done it, now there's been tariffs on all these air conditioners and heaters coming in from China and everywhere. And so there's been a 7-8% increase, and and so now he's looking, you're probably for the 3 of them, he just threw out a wild figure. I mean, this is all quick, that it shouldn't be more than 250,000, depending on what the electrical is going to be, because we don't know what the panels are now.
Do you have any thoughts, Larry, on if you'd need a 600 amp panel?
Yeah.
And did he factor in the heat generated by the pump? I guess it's similar to the ones that
Well,
View System used.
That's what we don't know, how many amps those, I mean, if we went down and looked, I thought Jared would be here, but each one of those pumps, I'm assuming, is probably on its own breaker. And I don't know if it's, a 20, 30, 40 amp. I don't, that's the thing. We don't know what the amperage.
Not likely more than a 40 or 50 amp breaker.
He did tell me, worst case scenario, if we had to go in and put in a 600 amp service in there, he says he couldn't imagine it being more than 350,000 without the ductwork.
But with the ductwork,
Well, he said he did tell me, he says with the ducting that you've got, he says 130 to 160,000 for ducting. And he just said that was asinine to even put that ducting in there.
You did mention that he has 30 years experience. Is that where
31 years experience, but I know the circulation that we get in a 4,000 square foot. My brother sits in the corner of this and it's blowing this way. He's had to put up a wall because that air circulates so well through there. And And he threw out something like that, air circulates every 10 seconds or something. I don't know what he meant by that for sure, but because I'm not a heating and conditioning guy. But it just concerns me why $350,000 more. I got a problem with it.
So Taylor, maybe could you just briefly explain, because I know we've talked about before what these air conditioning units are for, maybe just to give us a little background of why we need these, because residents listening might think, is it to keep our employees? What is the functionality of all of this? If you would just maybe
bet.
explain that.
Yeah, so this is an issue that we've been having for a while. It starts when they get an alarm in the middle of the night or whatever saying that this pumps are overheating. When that happens, the pumps shut down. And so then Darren usually gets out there and tries to he has called in some temporary cooling to come in to cool the place down. He's paying for that to just keep the system up and running. So this has happened before. And so then the solution that we kind of, well, first what we've done is Jared's called some local HVAC guys and say, hey, will you come look at this? And they say, yeah, tell me how much you need, what you need, like that. Like they're more of, we install it, tell us what we need. And we couldn't tell them what we need. We're not experts in the subject. So we hired Heath Engineers to do a study for us. They came out here and looked at all of our equipment, the whole thing. They did a study and it gave us the recommendation that we need that. Well, they first told us that we have 5 tons of cooling in this building and that we need at least 20 tons of cooling in this building. So we were 25% of what the building requires. And that's why things were often overheating and shutting down. So we got that recommendation from Heath, and then we also said to them, will you design it? This isn't a JUB design because that's not expertise. We went out, got these mechanical and electrical engineers to design it for us. And they gave us back the bid. Well, they gave us back as the plan drawings and the specs. And that's when I just put it out for a public bid. We posted it on Quest CDN, public bid site. We didn't get a lot of interest in it. So then we started reaching out to a lot of people. I thought, I'm not sure who Brooklyn is.
Bridgerland Heating and Air Conditioning, and
Yeah, I got an email for someone different. I thought it was like Mike or something. I can't remember what the name of their company was. I sent it to that person. And thinking where I got that from, I'm not sure why that was that one, but yeah, I didn't get one to Brooklyn, but to say that he didn't get it, I mean, all these public projects are always posted. And so there is the opportunity to get it. Just like every other project we do, it's always out there for anyone in the public. But so then we got bidders interested. We were planning on getting 4, and we ended up only getting 2 on bid day. So we have 2 bids, and then this is what they came back with is $178,000 for each one. That includes the 4 different trades that are in there. There's mechanical plumbing, there's sheet metal, HVAC, and then there's the electrical, and then there's concrete trades that are all going into there. That's one thing that concerns me about this discussion we've had so far is it's one tradesman. It actually is a full-on project upgrade. It requires a general contractor, and the way the public procurement happens is with bid bonds and insurances and securities, which kind of leads me to the next subject about these lift stations. These lift stations, they're vacuum lift stations, so they create the vacuum. Normal pumps create heat, but the water flows through them, cools it down substantially. They don't usually come across these problems. We have a pretty unique problem in that we have a lot of vacuum pumps. We have 5 with room for 1 more, so 6. And they just they create vacuum through the air, so there's nothing that's cooling it down. So they create such substantially higher heat than normal pumps do. So, in the case, I mean, the worry that the Public Works has is that these overheating pumps happen again and it shuts down. And in the case of that,
Just
Uh,
Taylor, add just a little bit of color. Jared actually just telling me the guys just had one shut down from a thermal overload. So I don't know what that means, and they're hoping it'll kick back on as it cools off.
it's something that's happened today.
Just now, yeah, they're hoping it'll kick back on as it cools off. But they just, if they get permanent damage, et cetera. And I don't, Sherry would know more than me. I don't know what our backup situations are like. He might, but so they're just having some heating problems.
Yeah, I mean, when backup pumps, I mean, it's not a generator, it's the pumps are down, so it takes months if they're permanently damaged, but the consequences of that are those 9,000 residents that we represent can no longer flush toilets, can no longer use any water. And I mean, it's just catastrophic. It can be catastrophic. Public health, public safety is paramount in this, for this. So I mean, if anyone takes on the person that stamped these plans, that Heath Engineers that stamped those plans, they know that they're taking on liability if that thing fails. And so, yeah,
If what fails?
if the cooling system doesn't achieve the purpose of keeping the pumps running.
But I mean, if 5 tons been getting them by for how many years?
So
And we're increasing that by 4, and the airflow is just an incredible amount
so
more.
for a lot of the years, there's been thermal injection pumps, where we pumped up the groundwater, run it across the heating coils, I think, and then it goes back into the ground. And those were abandoned several years ago. I'm not sure, I was before my time, they were abandoned because there's a lot of permitting. There's a lot of when there's materials and water quality issues, when you're pumping that over it, just creates erosion or corrosion and sedimentation. So it became a maintenance problem that we couldn't handle. And so those have been abandoned. So that's why we're sitting at 5 tons of cooling. When that was never the intention. We were intended to be able to provide, 20 tons of cooling, not 20 tons of cooling, but with the cooling injection to be able to satisfy our needs. That's why we're sitting at this deficiency. And the 5 tons hasn't been working.
Did Jared by chance mention which station? I know that
He said it was the Low station they're going to be working on.
okay.
The Low station had a pump have a thermal issue, and he just kind of wanted to relay that as perspective of the need, but not per se. He's not weighing in on this discussion as it relates to the bid, et cetera. Just to relate to the need. We understand the perspective of the council and everything, but he just said, we do have a need here. So we got to get resolved sooner than later, but hopefully, we can have healthy discussion. You can move it forward.
So when it comes to the bid, I mean, we did bid it out in a way where we have a priority, which is the north station. We can award it as in 1 project, 2 projects, or 3 altogether, depending on our budget. And there's definitely ways to do value engineering, to go back, work with the engineers and say, we need these costs to come down. What are we comfortable with? What are we not comfortable with? And we'd save money, but I don't think we're going to get as low as what has been said out here, but that includes the duct work you're saying is something that the city wants to take it out. It's not my call. It's not my staff that's going on it, but that's the real question right there is who's going to be liable if this doesn't get done correctly. And yeah.
That's a good answer from an engineer company. I get it.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
I mean, yeah, engineers, we put safety factors onto things. And but at the same time, we try to get this, there's this one saying, when they're building a building, you know, it's like, we're not trying to make this building last forever. Like, we're just trying to make it barely stand up, like, because that's barely standing up is the
There's a
cheapest
lot
option.
of things that are way over engineered
Yeah. Do that.
in this country.
I guess my question is, why wasn't Bridgerland, other than not having the vehicle to be able to bid on it, did they not know it was on the public website to bid on it?
Well, no,
Were they not allowed to bid on it? Why did they miss out on the bid?
nobody ever told, nobody ever told us that, you know, and his thing is, he's got so much work, he really doesn't care if he gets this job or not. I mean, he just flat out told me, it's not a big deal to me, but the problem I have with Jared and JUB is I asked this guy to come out here as a favor. You know, will you come out and look at this and give us your assessment? And then we don't have the courtesy to contact him and say, hey, this is going out to bid. Come check our website and come bid on it. Nobody contacted me nor him. And that's also a
I just have, I have a curiosity question regarding that. If you had to go actually solicit people to give bids, why this company was not one of the ones that was solicited?
That's a
And
good point
I
too.
I don't know why, if you went looking for some and he'd already expressed interest, why he wasn't included in that.
And that being said, is it too late to get a bid from this company?
It is okay to take these bids. I mean, we haven't awarded anything. That's what we were trying to do today, is seeing if we wanted to award this or not. So nothing's been awarded. We can close the bid, say no one was a successful bidder. And we can go out and, well, we could, I think the reasoning would be to say is that we don't have 3 competitive bids. That's kind of the standard. We only got 2. Send it out for a kind of a rebid process.
How long would that take?
It would take at least 3 weeks of like having the bid open. Like, that's kind of the standard, is you advertise for it and let it sit for 3 weeks. So, I mean, I guess 3 weeks from now. That's asking for these guys to do more bid, to do another bid, bid bonds, securities and insurance process, going through that whole thing again. But
Is it beyond the scope to ask this Heath company to reevaluate the assessment of the ductwork based on feedback? Like, is it, I mean, we're not going to go back and say re-engineer
Yeah.
this, but could we explain the position and say, you know, we have conflicting feedback that maybe this is overkill. Is it overkill? Like, get like a recommendation.
we can go about the process of giving this award to A&K Sheet Metal, and then saying we want to work with you on value engineering, get Heath Engineering to input, make some change orders, work with the contractor and get, see what they can reduce in price by doing stuff like that.
Only if we award it. We couldn't go back to them ahead of time prior.
We
to
can go
rebid
back
it?
and rebid. We can do a redesign, which wouldn't be a lot because it would be taking things out, but doing a redesign like that, a new package, then sending that package out would take 2 weeks, I guess, depending on work availability.
Well, this whole situation is a hard one, I feel like, and I'm sure council all feels the same, because I know they've came in several times and said our pumps are overheating. We're going to Walmart to buy the biggest fan that they have. They've opened up doors I've driven by, which has been a concern to me when I see the doors open. So we have that concern. We want something fixed that's more of a, nothing is permanent, but more of a long-term fix than it has been in the past. On the other hand, I also understand we are the stewards of taxpayer money, and this is a lot of money. Just one clarification, it would not be a budget amendment because we haven't approved a final budget yet. So we would have to, change our budget, and that would be something that we would be voting on. If we do go back to Heath, I think that could be a reasonable question. Is the ductwork necessary? But then I guess my question is then who do we trust? Who can we say? None of us sitting up here are engineers. We do have to rely on that if Heath comes back and says, yes, you need to have duct work, then is that something as a council we feel again justifying, or how do we know? Because not one of us sitting here, and I think you've even said this isn't JUB's expertise. And Jared, it would even tell you this isn't his expertise as far as air conditioning or as far as the power upgrade. So I guess I'm not sure how we up here come to some kind of a consensus of what should be done to make sure that what we're getting is the very best for the city, but also the most reasonably priced.
What's been explained isn't really comparing apples to apples, though, and that's the problem. I mean, what you're explaining, Larry, is different than what these other engineers have said is needed. So the question we have is, what is really needed? And who would put their stamp on that saying, if this fails, I am responsible for this? And
Yeah, so one thing,
So-
the study that was done was by Heath Engineering, the design was done by Heath Engineering, so there's no verification on that. I mean, you can go pay for another engineering firm to review it. That's money spent by the taxpayer, and in my engineering practice, it's very hard to go on top of another engineer and overrule what they're saying, and then this for how much, like if you pay me $20,000, now I'm taking on the liability is a really problematic.
So can can you ask them why the ducting? Why do we need the ducting? I mean, I haven't seen the drawing of, what was it, 288 pages? I mean, I'm on my phone. You just don't find that. I mean, how have you, I guess you've seen the ducting. I mean, is it coming through the wall and down on top of each pump?
No, it's not doing that.
Well, if it's not doing that, then the others is going to have so much flow anyway. So,
I mean,
so you don't,
that's, I don't know what to say right there. But we get Heath on the phone and start talking to him.
I mean, is it something that Malcolm can pull up and put on that screen what the ducting looks like?
I mean, I could pull it up on my computer if we want to.
Yeah, can we?
I don't know that I'll understand that, though.
Yeah, I mean, we're not engineers and we're not air conditioning people. I mean, so basically an engineer has recommended a design, right? That design went out for bid, right? Here's the specs that need to be bid on. We've had 2 companies bid on it. Bridgerland wasn't aware that they were able to bid on it in this time frame. So why don't we just say, let's reopen it for bid, because we didn't get 3 bids, and let them all bid again on it and see what we get. Here's the specs, here's what needs to be bid on. We can't change the ducting. We're councilmen, we're not engineers, so our decision is, do we go with these bids or do we rebid it? That's our decision. Right?
I think there was one other company, but then didn't turn in their bid or submit it. I thought I had heard there
Yeah.
were 3 originally.
There was supposed to be 4, and 4 possibly, but 3 we were counting on, and the third one didn't get a bid in time. The problem that we've had with bidding is this kind of process. It takes some general contractor to do it, where there's 4 different trades going on, and for most general contractors, it wasn't worthwhile for them to go after this kind of project. But the HVAC guys that were willing to do it were not willing to take on other trades, kind of thing. So it was hard to get interest on it.
But it does seem that we have another company that is potentially interested at this time, just hasn't had the opportunity to submit a bid. Would that be
I mean,
reasonable?
I would say the opportunity is there. If they are working through the procurement.
But you actually already said that you didn't get any, you had to go solicit bids, so It's soliciting 3 bids instead of 2 bids. Seems like,
Is that legal?
especially for this much money, wouldn't be a bad thing for the city.
I'm just wondering, and Darren, maybe it's a question for you. So now that these numbers are out there. So Larry, your friend comes in and bids it for $10 less. You know what I mean? How do you handle that? How do we, now that those numbers are already out there?
And I hear you, what you're saying. Look, can I ask him one question real fast?
Yeah.
Can I go call Brooklyn and see if he even has interest in bidding it with the duct work and all this other stuff? He may not even want to, just from his comments about what he said about the duct work and all that. And if he has no interest in doing it that way, then maybe everything else is, then we got to decide whether we're gonna.
So I'll answer first, start with Fowers, Councilmember Fowers. I mean, legally, we can do what has been proposed, that we can close them and reopen them. We can say no. We can say no to these. Does it? I understand what you're saying, because now it's not closed, it's open. So, but we are giving each of these bidders the opportunity to go and readjust. They're all getting the same opportunity that a new person bidding would get as well. So I get what you're saying, how it looks. I think that's a fair concern, but legally we can do that.
If there's a change,
Sorry.
oh, sorry.
Now your question. Yeah, if you want to take time to go and
Give me
have
just a
the
minute.
call.
Let me just even see if he's interested in.
I would say if there's significant changes in the design, then a rebid will be fine.
I don't know if you
Completely
want to
fine.
take a recess or do you want to just have him?
Well, I would like to, I mean, he's going to make the call, but I guess I'd just like to say that I don't think that a particular company's interest and whether or not they're going to bid is going to inform my decision on whether or not it makes sense for the city's financial situation. You know what I mean? I wonder, that seems too conflicting, right? Like if just one specific company we're relying on whether they're interested or not, doesn't change the fact that it's 535,000 sitting on the table, that we would still, I mean, we either have to agree that that's what the direction we want to go or we don't, right? And we have to agree whether or not we want to ask Heath to go reevaluate the ductwork. Like Councilmember Hill said, do we want to take the position that as council members, we have the experience that we're trying to say, we think you should get rid of the ductwork? Like, are we taking on that stamp? And then additionally, I mean, I think of it for any other thing that we would be bidding. If my buddy wanted to do a job for us, I don't think I could expect us to make a decision as a council just to give them an opportunity to have a consideration of this, is all I'm saying. So I know that this company is somebody Larry knows and somebody that's bringing him a different perspective, but I'm curious, I'm interested because I'm surprised you said he could take that call to help us make this decision. Because I would figure we would need can I call 5 other HVAC companies and see if they can help us make this decision? That's curious to me.
I would say, I mean, we follow procurement policy the way that it's supposed to be done.
Absolutely.
And I am a little, it is, the way the conversation has gone is a little bit against that policy of finding someone that, I mean.
Yeah.
But I think a good recommendation, I mean, the recommendation of taking out ductwork, I don't know what that consequences are, but I think it's totally reasonable to say within this contract, now there's no ductwork, let's renegotiate the price.
Yeah, I think that's a fair.
That's the direction I think we should go, is say, hey, we've had some, I don't know if you call it professional, but some
Redneck. No, I'm just kidding.
just some concerns come up about maybe the ducting was excessive or whatever. Can we go to Heath and say, can we revise this under your best professional opinion and rebid it?
Yeah, and so then, I mean, when they say that, they're like, all right, yeah, there's a certain level of comfort that you're comfortable with. Are you comfortable with a 400 amp breaker? Because probably it does work, but are you willing to take that risk? And so if someone, I don't know who's going to take that decision, but
But can we
Yeah,
ask them and
we
then
can
they,
ask them.
and if they say, no, we're not, I mean, they could come back and go, look, we're not comfortable. This is how
Yeah.
we say it should be engineered.
And what they'll do is they'll say, they'll keep a stamp on it, but it's just documented that saying the city assumed this risk, and if there is a risk, then.
And if that happens, I
There.
think we need to take legal advice on that. Do we want to make
Yeah.
that assumption of that risk?
And who would want, I don't think Hooper City wants to take that risk. That's my whole point. I don't think we want to take the risk of, awarding a bid for something that we knew that right to begin with.
But you had mentioned earlier that if the city had concerns with the price, that you could go back to the engineer or whoever and say,
It's common.
hey, where can we cut? You know, we need to lower this price a little bit. So that's kind of what we're doing here, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I'll go talk to the Heath Engineering tomorrow and tell them about ductwork and probably the breakers, the amps, and see if there's that, we can see any reduction in costs. And see if there's anything else we can.
We're not asking to do anything that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
But my concern is, do we really need a 600 amp if we're only going to be using 400 amps? I mean, I would think if you've got a 600 amp service that 540 amps, that's an awful lot when the two air conditioners are only taking 120 amps. Where's, I guess I just don't get why,
I mean, it's a lot of what else is going on in the building, right? The pumps, there's
Right.
a lot of different pumps, and there's taking up a lot of the power as well, but.
So where this is a standing motion, do we just need to table this while Taylor goes back and asks Heath some questions and then bring him back, or do we need to vote on this as it stands? I move to table the motion on the approval of awarding bid to A&T Sheet Metal Inc. for HVAC upgrades North Low and Town Station pending JUB's conversation with Heath Engineering on seeing if we can modify and resubmit for bid. The next council agenda, is that the? Yes.
That won't be until August 20th, and I'm wondering if so we're a ways out if we want to then call a special meeting.
Yeah, I think it'd be necessary to call.
That
it
would
special.
be prudent at this point in time. We need to get this dealt with. We do have one advantage. The temperature is going to back off a little bit, so that ought to.
So
help us
I
out.
probably can't pick a date because the special meeting would be notified at that time, right? Okay, so can it stand as I said it? Okay.
Okay, so we had a motion made by Councilmember Craig.
And I'll second that motion.
Second made by Councilmember Hill. Did we get all of that, Morgan? So we know what that will be?
Can I get that clear? We're talking to them about finding value engineering, or are we talking to them about redesigning and going out for another bid?
We're talking to them about both, right? So they're looking at value engineering and or redesigning, taking the ductwork out and going for another bid.
Okay.
What you're asking then, if they come back with some value engineering, you would like it to go back out to bid and let other companies bid it?
That's
Or
right.
you're saying you want to go back to this lowest bidder and see what they would bid it for if we took that out?
Yeah, I would like it to go back out to public open bid because we didn't get the 3 anyway. We only got 2. So it'd be nice. I'd like it to go back out to open bid.
And I'd like to put the pedal to the metal because we need to get this taken care of.
so.
Ryan, are you seconding that motion for it to go out to bid? I just want to clarify this. Okay, now discussion.
So if they come back and they re-engineer this and this, is it A&T or whoever, the sheet metal company, if they come back and say, well, yeah, we can cut out 150,000 if we don't need all that ducting, if we don't need that much electrical, do we want to accept that bid or still go out
I
for?
think we're doing that out to open bidding, right? Because we still, the part of the issue was we still didn't get 3 bids. So, I mean, it would be outside of the normal procurement process anyway. So we would want to try to.
That, I don't think that's in our policy. It's other cities.
So,
Yeah, I don't think that's what the other entities hold stricter to that, but that's not ours.
Then I guess that's up for discussion. Like, do we want it to go back to companies to bid? I think that we should be able to give like A&T say, hey, look, the bid is changed. You get a chance to rebid this and stack them against other people. But do we just keep that to the two that already submitted a bid with a redesign? Or do we give it open to public?
So I got a hold of Brooklyn and he says with 600 amp service and with all that ducting, he says it's not needed. He doesn't want to bid on it.
Right,
So,
but if it changed, would he want to?
yeah, if it changed, then yeah, if it didn't have all that ducting and that that he doesn't think's necessary. I don't even know if he just told me no, that he doesn't want to bid on it. So I think he's a little frustrated, but and his pride was hurt that he come out to Hooper and did that initial, and I think that's a little bit of him saying no now, is that you treated me bad.
I just think of the residents of Hooper, we owe them a little bit to look into this. We're talking a couple $100,000 here. I don't think we should take that lightly. And if we
Yeah.
have some options that we might be able to reduce that a little through them reevaluating some things,
So
I would like to see
one
that happen.
thing, I mean, the process that if we were to set this, we'd say notice of award, contract, and then notice to proceed. So, and we're not looking to contract or notice to proceed, but if we issued a notice of award, and we're not going out for rebid, but that's really when A&T is going to be comfortable like working with us, knowing that they have the award on any value engineering. That might save us time is what I would like to see, but
I mean, at this
if you
point,
go through bid and noticing of award would be bad, and then it just
I appreciate it. At this point, I've made the motion, so we need to vote on it as it stands, I think. And then if we want to change that, but I mean, I'm still, the motion still stands as made that we would have you go back and talk to Heath Engineering. So
That's where we're at is, I think we proceed with the value engineering, see where we're at, pause, and then decide at that point if we're going to rebid it or not.
we can.
You know, if we're happy and comfortable with the value engineering, like Larry said, then we just move on with the bids that we have currently.
So the motion that was made by Councilmember Craig was for it to go out to bid. When you seconded it, Councilmember here, were you seconding it for it to go out to bid? And now are you,
If
how
necessary.
do we do that?
The
the
Just so-
motion was made to table this motion. Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
The motion just stands as tabling of this motion. I don't think we're taking any other action.
Okay,
Yeah.
just tabling the motion. We're not adding any kind of,
I will do those things.
okay, so the motion then has been tabled. I mean, motion for table and seconded. There's been discussion. Any further discussion before we vote?
If we need to call a special meeting, we'll do it at that point, once we
Yes.
get the information back.
Yes,
Okay, because I'm in agreement. We need to move the cart.
yeah. Okay, so all in favor of that motion and second?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your work on this.
The next one too.
Yes, okay, so yes, if you'll explain this with us.
Okay, yeah, I'll explain this just a little bit. So, this is part of a need of our sewer that we need to construct a force main on 5100 West. Because right now we currently get it into West Haven, goes through their system, but they've told us it's get out of it. And so we got to keep our own system. On 5100 West, get the sewer from the east area up to 4000 South, where it can be combined with the other force mains we have. So we've been designing this. Simultaneously with that, it's been going on is the roadway construction on 5100 West. And while you've been out there, you see a lot going on. And now they've said like, this could save a lot of time, money, and this overall quality of the product if we did this in conjunction with that road project. We agree with that. What we want to do is construct the portion of the force main that would get out of that intersection. And then probably about 200 feet out of that intersection, just pause the project there and wait for the rest of the project funding to go. So what we're doing right now is asking for partial funding for the small portion that can be done in conjunction with the roadway project on 5100 West. That makes sense.
So you gotta make sure I understand you right. This would be from 4,000 north,
4,000 south.
coming back
In,
south.
in the intersection of 4,000 south is where we have to do some big, a lot
Right.
of the project in the UDOT right away. And then we're going to build 200 feet out basically to stay out of what's going on in that project. But the whole length of the project is, I think, 6,000 feet or something.
And you ultimately anticipate this would save the city some money to do this portion right now rather than redoing it down the road.
It will save money, as in the fact that we got the contractor already mobilized, part of that project. And one good thing about it is the quality of the road that's being reconstructed. We don't want to make a really nice road and come back with less than a year and cut it open, which costs money.
Sounds like a great idea.
So the total cost of that project, we first estimated to be about $1 million. And so this small portion of it, which is the hardest part of it, is I estimated to be about $350,000, or I think 388. So that's kind of what we need immediately to get that going.
So that 388 would be deducted off of that initial portion and it wouldn't exceed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do have to, I mean, that was my estimate. We just want to work with Staker, give them our design, and they'd have to give us the cost of what that would be.
Now, did I understand right that we have a grant for that?
Yes, that's part of this that we're hoping that, could go along with this and also that regional lift station. But I think from meeting with Staker Parsons, which I did this week, they're just like Taylor mentioned, why do we want to pour a new road, then come within and then dig it back up? And again, Cami said that if we approve this, we do not have to do amended a budget. She could do that when we do our final budget, which would be in August.
So we actually, I'm a little confused there. So we actually have a grant, or this would be part of the CRA grant that you're talking about? Wait,
So they're two different things that could be related. So we received grant money from Blake Moore's office for 1.5 million that we haven't specifically designated for anything yet. It could be used for this. It also could be used because this could be part of the CRA, because in order to have that regional lift station, that sewage, it will hook into this force main.
but again, this could be independent of the CRA. We could use part of that money for this.
Sure, we can just use $1 million and pay for this. Or like we mentioned, if we do end up doing the CRA, we could put that $1 million towards our portion rather than us.
You are fairly confident the grant's going to come through.
So the only holdup, so it's going to the federal government for appropriations. They have to meet to approve a budget. If the budget doesn't get approved, which has happened, then that might be one that they axe out. But if approved budget, that's the final amount that we're getting. Like that part's decided.
How soon do you have to know?
We hope to get this done, have Staker doing it in a month from now. So
If we don't have the grant yet, then we're just paying out of the budget is the idea, right? Like it's just, the reality is say the grant doesn't get approved, we're gonna pay out of the budget we have today. So it's gonna come out of project.
The capital project, because this is something like we talked about in work meeting that does have to be done. We are way over capacity, what we should be. The only thing, and when I met with them this week, they said they should be to 4,000. They're hoping by August, I think it was 4th, 5th, and 6th. So we really do only have till a few weeks. They want to know, because they're holding, when they get to that point, they will hold up the project if we are going to do this. If not, then they move on and then we end up digging up the road later.
Darren, can I ask you a question? He said that West Haven said we got to get out of their sewer. What's that actually mean? West Haven said we got to get out of their sewer. What if we say no? I mean, literally, like what have they said to us? What are we legally obligated to do? What is the time frame in which we have to do that? Is it just at this point a friendly, hey, will you get out of our sewer? Or is there actual action that is forcing us to?
Maybe we ought to charge them because I think this pipe's on Hooper city property. It's on our side of the border.
It's their property. They have rights to their property.
Well,
They have
but-
the right to exclude people off their property. But I would have to look to see if we have any.
We have a wheeling agreement that was made a long time ago. And I was told that we've tried renewing that and they've always kind of said, we're good, don't worry about it. So there's an expired agreement is what I'm understanding.
So I'd have to look at that to really advise you on that.
Yeah, I'm just curious of our actual obligation to this. I mean, not speculating or anything, just like what do we have to do? What time frame? Because that might pressure this project or it might relax it a little.
So the last interlocal agreement we have signed was signed on June 3rd, 2004. And we have not done a current one since then. And at that time we signed that had the 600 homes cap. And as I mentioned, we're now to 975. So we do not have a legal agreement with West Haven to even allow us to be there. We have just been paying a wheeling fee.
But do we have like a cease and desist or do we have like an order by them?
No, because they're a community that's right next to
Okay,
us
fine with
and
that.
yeah. Mhm.
I'm just wondering legally obligation, like what are we're saying like, hey, let's go add $300,000 to our budget to do this right now. We may or may not get a grant to pay for this. We're going to go ask taxpayers for more money. But we may not even have a pressure. If it's a perceived pressure, like, yeah, and we're a community next to them. So I think that that's also cuts both ways. We could say, hey guys, we're a community next to you. We don't really have this money. So are we doing this because it's like, we're being nice, or is it something we really need to do?
What, can you explain again what the perceived pressure is? What are they saying to get,
Um,
did they give a time frame? Did they give?
I mean, do you want to?
I first became aware of this 2 years ago when we received this wheeling fee bill, which we didn't have any idea what it was. So then when I went and asked, what is this bill? Because I was asked, what is this bill? And it was that we were supposed to pay this check and we hadn't paid. The last one we had paid was back in June of 2023. And then we received a bill that was probably June of 2024 that showed we owed this amount that was over $33,000, which we didn't know. That's when I went and asked. The engineer over there at that time said, yes, you need to get out. Their public works director was over the sewer, said, well, we'll work with you, Hooper. We talked about it in the budget season of 2024. They were aware the council was, this needs to be done. We didn't have the money. Let's put it off, do it 2005. Came back, budget, let's talk about it. Similar this year. So it's something that we have known now. So when we say urgent, what is urgent? 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? I don't know, but it is something that we know that does need to be done. And then we didn't put it in the budget this year because then we talked about, well, if we get this grant, we could use that. If we do a CRA, we could use that money.
I'd agree with what she said. And then, I mean, once the Smith and the East area and all those homes get tied into here, I think that's when things are urgent. There's not gonna be capacity for those many additional.
Yeah, but that's a lot of assumptions, right? That's
Yeah.
assuming the Smiths is going to happen. That's assuming, that's assuming we're getting a grant. So what I'm saying is I'm trying to measure in realities here. And the reality is we have known for a long time that we're in West Haven sewage. Yes, we probably should get out of that. Do we put a $300,000 obligation to our budget to make sure we do that right now? Is West Haven even asking it? I get an engineer or an employee or somebody said it. Has West Haven City Council, has an attorney, has anybody legally obligated us to get out?
If that is a liability, if they decide tomorrow that they want to exclude us from it, then that is,
Yeah.
they can exclude us. I just would want to look at the agreement on how soon they can do it. If there's anything there, so.
I mean,
The
if we've
reason
been
for the-
paying- sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the reason for the urgency now is because of the blacktopping of the road. We probably would have,
That's an answer.
we would have probably waited, Taylor, they've been working on getting this engineered. I think we thought we probably had more time. We could have waited to see if we get the grant, if we do the CRA, but now they are to this project. And if you look down 5100, you're going to see where they have stopped with the curb, gutter and sidewalk, because they said, we need to know what we're doing at 4,000. If you're going to come in and put in, and I don't remember now, you would know that whatever, it's not a T, it's some kind of a valve. We need to know if you're doing that now, then we'll hold up. They'll give you a chance to put that in. If you're not going, they're not saying we have to do this right now. We're saying, do we want to do it before they pour the road? Then we re-dig up the road for us to do it if that is 6 to 9 months down the road.
Sure. And Mayor, with all due respect, this is all connected to a reality that we have a sewage system that is aging, that is horrible, that we shouldn't be in the first place, but we are in it. And it connects to the CRA discussion. It connects to these pump house discussions. It connects to this tearing up the road discussion because of the type of system, because of what we have, because of the infrastructure failing. And I 100% agree we got to fix it. I just don't believe it's a convenient discussion for us to continue to go to the citizens of Hooper and say, let me reach in your pocket and spend more money. We continue to do that. I mean, it's like, we're going to raise your taxes for the sheriff. We appreciate the sheriff. We got to raise the taxes for that. We don't want to have to do that. We're going to raise your taxes for this, for that. But I mean, it's just continuously asking our citizens to hand more money out of their pocket. And look, every time I go to the store, my daughter says, hey, I want that. And I say, what money are you going to spend it with? And she points at me and says, with my money. So I understand asking somebody else to spend the money for you. I just don't think that we can continue to do this to the citizens over and over. And we've talked about it 3 times across 3 separate things tonight. And our budget isn't even finalized. So what's it going to look like by the time we finalize it?
Just so you understand too, and we brought this up in work meeting, this is separate than the vacuum stations. This has to do with the lift station, the gravity. None of these go through
But
those.
still, like,
vacuum.
I'm saying infrastructure, like I
Yes.
recognize that we have a failing infrastructure system that we got to attend to. And so I don't know, when I go to somebody and I say, hey, this is going to cost this much money and we're going to ask you for this much money. And then 2 months later, I go back to them and say, hey, just kidding. It's going to cost you 300,000 more. Hey, by the way, just kidding. It's going to cost you 300,000 more. I feel like it's hard for me to look our citizens in the eye and tell them that we're done spending their money.
So one thing you need to understand is we are a city. We have been a city now for almost 26 years. The health department came and told us we had to hook into a sewer, and so we did. Maybe the time is we need to look at as a city, what are we going to do then to start alleviating some of these revenue shortfalls that we have? We are going to have sewer. We are going to have water. We have to. That's just part of being a city, is having infrastructure costs.
I don't need to understand that. I do understand that we're a city, but I also understand that I've got people that are citizens who elected me that are sitting in the Silver Saddle subdivision telling me that their basements are flooding with sewer because of our infrastructure. Decisions that we've made as a city, we need to continue, but it's easy to go say, we're going to make a law or we're going to charge you money for it, because none of us are reaching in our own pocket. We're reaching in the pocket of the people who elected us. And I don't take it lightly. And I think we need to be very clear of our plan of doing that.
Well, and just, a little clarification with this too, as some little pre-planning would have been done. Like I mentioned, we were supposed to have been paying $250 a sewer impact fee to even connect, which we have not. If there would have been some pre-planning and every time one of these houses hooked into this force main, we would have. So we have 975 homes. If we would have each charged them the amount we should have, we could have that pocket of money sitting there to pay for this, but well, we didn't. So now we're at a situation, and what this is tonight, do you want to approve this to do this now? Or we don't, and then we just wait down 9 months, it could even possibly be a year, and then we dig up a newly paved road. That's what our decision needs to be tonight. If you want this done now, then this needs to be approved, or we wait and do it later and still have to do it, but then we're digging up a road.
Still gonna have to be done either way, right? Basically.
So let me throw another assumption into your assumptions, is that we're assuming that when SR 177 comes through this corridor, that they're not going to totally tear up the entire thing and throw it all away and redo it. How is that going to affect our infrastructure and our sewer system and all those other questions about a major freeway coming through? We don't know. We have no idea right now. And so I'm kind of with David too on this obligation to West Haven. We've been told one thing and told another thing, and legally, what is our legal obligation to West Haven with this contract, with this wheeling fee, with all these things? Are we supposed to get out tomorrow, in 5 years? Do we get to stay in? Nobody knows what really is the deal with this trunk line going down 5100 West. We've been sharing it. Yes, we've been paying a wheeling fee. Then we haven't been paying the wheeling fee. Do we get to stay? You see what I'm saying? There are so many questions legally with this sewer line. I'm
There
not-
is. I know.
To spend 300,000 with all these unanswered questions.
Right, right. And you know, in years past, see, this never came up. The wheeling fee was paid and this was never brought to us, brought to our attention. All of a sudden we missed paying the fee and now we've got to get out. That's the part from here to now you've got to get out. That in between part is the part I don't get. I don't understand how we got to where we are today when that wasn't the case just a couple of years ago.
Have we ever paid the connection fees?
Of what?
Have we ever paid the connection fees to West Haven?
The only thing that was required was that wheeling fee.
I don't know if that is true though, because this is one, and I had another copy that was actually, Dale, you had signed, and it shows about the 250 and goes through the homes. So I think you were aware of this,
Of the,
of
we,
the wheeling fee and the
Right.
connection. And if anybody would have ever looked, so I can't really use, I don't think we should be able to use the excuse that said we didn't know, because we have this interlocal agreement.
no,
It was
no.
signed, so someone should have
So I'm
known.
not saying we didn't know, but it was never discussion because the fees were paid. That was,
Partial. Partial paid. None of the maintenance fees were paid. The connection fee wasn't paid. And from what I was told, every time that asked, then there was someone that worked at West Haven said, oh, we can worry about this later. Well, but again, we are a city and there has to be legal things. Then maybe if you don't want to do this force main, we will never be able to put anything else into it. So there can't be any further development along East Hooper or 5500 because West Haven has said they're not going to let us continue to hook into this where we're already 375 homes.
When and how did they say that?
So
Like
is-
when you
is
say
there a-
West Haven, did like their council, did their attorney,
No.
when and how was it?
No, it
done?
was
And
it
is
was
there a
an engineer,
contract in
their
place?
public works. So we can go back to them if you want to and see if they're willing to sign an interlocal agreement with us again.
I
That's,
wouldn't recommend us proactively going back and stirring up the pot on anything. I think that we need to see if West Haven is coming to us to ask us something. If we're paying the wheeling fees, they're accepting the payments and we're moving forward. I feel like the contract's enforced. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't feel like we've gotten any notice that we need to get out of this.
But there, yeah, I just want to say that I agree. I don't think we've been told to leave. But from what it sounds like, there's not an agreement that stops them from telling us to leave. So that is my concern.
So have we been told to leave is the question.
Ha- it doesn't-
Legally, is there something in writing saying, Hooper, you have 30 days to get out? You know,
I would have to, what was I mean, it doesn't sound like we received any.
no, there wasn't any legal thing. It was a matter of their engineer and their public works saying, Mayor, we are willing to work with you. We will give you some time to work on this. We're not going to tell you to get out in this in a month. But it's been 2 years now that they have said that. We're willing to work with you.
So it
And
sounds like they're being good neighbors. But I'm just letting you know that if there's not agreement in place, I am concerned that they could potentially.
Sure. They could.
I think we've discussed this in several council meetings about having to do this. This isn't a brand new topic. We are talking about doing this force main along 5100. The thing that is brand new is, do we want to do this small section to get us out of the right of way? Or we don't have to. They're going to pave that road whether we do this now or not. Just then we will later on, if we do this, then we will be digging up a new road.
Taylor, can I ask you another question? So you say it will save us a little bit of money. What's a little bit? I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands tonight, and so.
Okay, I'm good, but mobilization, which is arguable because they either mobilize now or they're gonna mobilize later. I mean, so there's probably $20,000 that could be saved potentially.
About redoing the asphalt too.
But, oh yeah, then some asphalt of only 200 feet. That would be about another 10 or 20, so I'd say 40 grand.
And we really don't know if it's going to be 6 or 9 months, or the way things work in the world nowadays, is it 2 years?
Well, we know it's been 22 years, right? It was 2004 when the agreement was signed. It's been 22 years. So since they've
But I would really worry, I mean, against the assumption about what's gonna connect on in the east area. Cause if that's within 1 or 2 years, there's gonna be a capacity issue. There's gonna be sewer coming out of the ground, so
sure.
that's when it becomes a big issue for me.
What is your recommendation?
I would do it, I guess. I feel confident that there's funding. Well, I guess my recommendation is you're gonna get $1.5 million. What are you gonna do with it? If this is with a priority, I'd put it into this. I feel confident that that's a month away, 2 months away, maybe, of being 100%. And then what are you gonna do with it then? If
And
you're
I
gonna
don't
somewhere
agree.
else, then don't
If we
do it.
had $1.5 million, I would agree with you. We don't have that. Well, because if the federal government has shown over and over that they don't pass budgets and that they cut things
Yeah.
and they go back and forth on what's private land and public land. I mean, we see this change, especially with this administration. Things can change back and forth every day. And so I think that it's important that, I don't know, I will confidently say to you that if you were a citizen of Hooper, I would not reach into your pocket on something that I couldn't guarantee.
So I guess the question is then, are you thinking this is a project we don't ever do? Because we have discussed this as a city council.
No, I think that's probably extreme. I think that it is something that we should do when we have the money to do things. I think that it's a very reasonable thing to say that we will do the things we can do when we have the money to do them, and we'll try to create economic opportunity for us to grow and be able to afford to do more things as a city. But this was planned as part of the budget later, right? It's not, you're asking for
Yeah.
the money sooner.
Yeah, I was asking, do you have $300,000 in project budget? I mean, it would take it from somewhere else, but is there money in there to do it?
So they took fund balance and moved money over. So she said there is money that we can use now. Then when we got that money, then we would just put that back into the capital projects fund. Or we can wait and, like you said, till we have the guaranteed money. And then another thing we probably should be doing legally in the meantime then is we probably need to get some legal documents drawn up with West Haven and see if they are willing to even let us. I suspect, them being good neighbors, they'll say yes, but how much time are they going to give us?
No, I
2
agree.
years, 3 years? But we do know if we do any growth at all in East Hooper, this has to be done first. So this is just a matter of, do we want to do it before they pave the road, or we pave the road and then dig up the road?
Yeah, and if we got growth in East Hooper, maybe it's an option for us to have a development agreement with somebody who's doing the growth to say, help us fix this cost.
Well, with that then, does someone want to make a motion then? There's a motion on to approve the partial funding for the sewer force main portion included in the 5100 West project.
I'll make a motion to table the 5100 West sewer project pending more information on the $1.5 million grant from the federal government.
So just a clarification, then that you just need to not vote this because they have to know by August 15th, and we probably won't know by August 15th.
Okay, I'll change my motion. I'll make a motion to deny funding the $388,000 for the 5100 sewer project.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
Second it.
Second was made by Councilmember Fowers. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Did everybody vote? Okay, thank you. Okay, then we will let Staker Parsons know and they'll just go ahead and complete their project. The last thing then, we do not need to have a possible closed door meeting. We had some things that we have not received yet, so we won't be doing that. And so then the last thing would be just a motion to adjourn.
Can I ask one more question to Taylor about, can we go back and talk about that, those pumps? You said that if we go with this engineering.
Okay, so we are going to recall an issue that was tabled as far as the HVAC system for our sewer lift stations. Do I need to have a motion to do that? Okay.
So you made the comment, these guys will guarantee, so if a pump goes out, they're gonna replace it, a $20,000 pump? So you can't prove that it wasn't adequate. So basically, it's really no guarantee. Okay. So really, it's okay. That
So if I understand, maybe, so if they stamp this and say, according to our standards, you need to have X amount of units to keep this cool, then we put in that amount and it's not enough, and one of our pump overheats causes damage, which causes that pump to fail. We have sewer damage in residents. They would be liable if we did it just like they told us to do, and we still had pumps that overheated. They would be liable. There could be other things that certainly could make a pump fail, but if it was due to overheating, due to lack of air conditioning, that's, I would think, was where their liability would lie.
Well, and they're dealing with really used pumps too, so I'm not sure how much they're gonna want to back those suckers that are already got issues.
so the bottom line is there's really no guarantee, but okay, that answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, now is there a motion to adjourn?
Do we need a motion to retable that since it was brought back? Okay. I move that we adjourn.
Okay, motion was made by Council Member Craig. Is there a second?
Second.